What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So in today's video, I did want to talk about something here on Need for Speed 2015, which I would probably say at this point, I know for a fact I can't be the only one asking this. Is Need for Speed 2015 going to follow the exact same road as the Crew 1? We all do know that game obviously shut down. Now, currently there is like a version to play it on the PC, but us console players obviously can't play it. So I have been noticing a lot of people going, wait a minute, what if 2015 follows the same exact thing? Because at the moment, we're obviously 9 years into it, heading into a 10-year anniversary of the game here soon, which is kind of insane. But to be honest, guys, I just don't think EA is going to shut it down. Now, I do know right off the bat, you're probably like, block the game's online only. I mean, they can't have it to be online forever, which unfortunately I would say is probably going to be fairly true. I mean, we did see the Crew 1 obviously shut down everything even though you bought it. We also did see something like Drive Club being offline, but the online's closed, and that game was still basically delisted from the entire PlayStation Store and stuff. So I would say, can something like Need for Speed follow it? Well, I mean, I would probably say it could, but again, I feel like there was a lot more players playing 2015 than there was on the Crew 1. Don't hate me on this, guys, but I do know the game obviously shut down, but back then, even currently right now, there's probably like 5 or 6 people on PC playing it. Funnily enough, when getting on it back on the PS5, like before the game closed in March, I was actually finding a few people in some of the lobbies, so there was some players in there, whereas getting on Need for Speed 2015 on PlayStation 5 at the moment, I am still finding people pretty dang consistently. In most of the lobbies I have maybe 1 or 2, sometimes even 5 people in there. There could even be 2 or 3 people racing together and doing different stuff, so I would say 2015 is probably going to be fairly populated. And the funny part about this though is at the time of making this video, I did want to check the actual like Steam charts on it. 200 and around 40 or so players are actually on the game, which is pretty impressive. And of course, no, which is pretty impressive. And of course, that's only going to be on the PC side of it. So there's obviously going to be more people playing this game on PlayStation and also most likely Xbox. If we look at something like the Crew Motorfest, that game had around 150 people on Steam, which I do know that game is obviously on like the Ubisoft thing. It came to Steam after, but still, it's got a pretty low player count considering the game is, well, 8 months old. And then we have something like Need for Speed 2015 heading to 9 years old, which is somehow having almost more players on this than there is actually on the Crew Motorfest. And then we also have something like the Car Desert Rally. When I checked it one time, it had legit 2 people on it, bro. Now, I do understand that game is like different. It's like mainly off-road and stuff, but 2? Really, bro? 2 people? While we have something like Need for Speed here having over 200. So I have to say it, I don't think 2015 is going to close, man. I just don't see it happening. We also do know right now that EA could probably release something on this game, making it like an offline thing, to where you basically can jump into the game solo. I do know that was like one of the biggest complaints about Need for Speed 2015 was the fact that it was online only. Not going to lie, guys, one thing I notice every time I get on this game, because I have been playing it a bit more recently, and that is the loading screens are pretty crazy, bro. Like, I'm pretty sure I could probably go outside and most likely head over to a local Chick-fil-A and come back, and I'm still in a loading screen. Not saying it's going to be awful, like I get it, the game is older, it probably was for a PS4, so I understand a lot of the loading screens on a last-gen console isn't as quick. If you are wondering, is the PS5 faster? It is not, just in case you guys want to jump on this and try it out. Luckily, this game is still in the store and it wasn't delisted like some other games I did mention. That would be insane if they actually did that. But here's the thing though, I would be very shocked if EA did not actually think ahead and go, you know what, maybe we should have like an offline patch for this game most likely in the future. That way we could actually close the servers. But here's the thing, did they actually design it that way to where you could close the entire online part of it and then just have a way for players to jump on by themselves? And the funny part about this though is I do know for a fact right now I can't be the only one going, wait a second, why would they not just design most of the games if they are, let's say, online only in the beginning? Why not always design that game to have something that's offline in the future? That way a lot of people don't have to buy a PC and have a modded version of the game to actually play it. We do know this is probably going to be something that could end up happening more in the future. For example, I would almost guarantee the Crew 2 is also going to be shut down eventually by Ubisoft. And then, of course, down the road, Motorfest would most likely follow it. Whereas right now, we do know Need for Speed, which insanely enough, guys, I'm pretty sure I might be right on this. Need for Speed 2015, I think, is the only online-only game by them. Am I right? I think every other game, I think is going to be offline in some way, like Payback is. Obviously, Need for Speed Heat can be played solo. And who knows, maybe that will actually keep 2015 alive because this is going to be the only online racing game, at least for the Need for Speed era, that I can think of. So maybe that's going to keep this game alive in the aspect that, yes, they can add like an offline patch for it, considering every other Need for Speed game has it. Now, the one thing I do know for a fact, guys, is a lot of players probably don't want to have to get a mod just to play an online game in 2024, like if they were to shut it down or something. I'm pretty sure a lot of players are like, yo, I have the game on PlayStation, so let me play it. Now, there is one more big factor here I would say that is going to play a key role in keeping 2015 alive, or at least I guess you could say online, which is probably a bad joke. Before this game, though, we can all agree right now a lot of players are going back to older racing games for a pretty big reason. Newer racing games at the moment, guys, are just not that great. I mean, looking at a lot of newer games now, I feel like a lot of players are like, you know what, I'm just going to go back to the old racing games because those are still fun. I would actually guess right now there's still going to be a good amount of players not only on 2015, but most likely even playing Rivals or Most Wanted 2012. And then, of course, Need for Speed Most Wanted 2005. Most Wanted 2005. And the funny part about that, though, is I also feel like I'm in the same boat in certain places. Like, I've been pretty much playing a lot of Hot Pursuit Remastered, been jumping back on a Need for Speed Rivals 2015. Funnily enough, I've actually been playing Need for Speed Heat more than anything. And I think that's going to come down to a few factors, which I will touch on in a separate video. I just feel like, guys, a lot of players are going back and playing older games, which I do know EA can probably look at stuff and go, you know what? 2015 is actually thriving right now. We're not going to touch this game for a while. If anything, like I mentioned, I feel like Anthem would most likely close before this one, because let's be real, how many players are actually on Anthem? Probably no one, or at least it's probably an incredibly low number, whereas we pretty much know right now all the Need for Speed games are still thriving to this day. Now, do let me know your thoughts on this in the comments below. Do you guys think Need for Speed 2015 is going to shut down its servers? To be honest, I feel like it's not. I don't think EA is going to do it, and I don't think EA is going to do it. And the biggest reason why I say that, though, is simply going to come down to the fact of the backlash from the Crew 1. Like, legit, guys, we can say right now, if EA actually shut down this game, it would most likely be 10 times worse, and not even close to what happened to the Crew 1.